everyone, and welcome back to the Grateful Not Greedy podcast. My name is Kris, and I am here with my very heart-filled, love-centered co-host, and her name is
Rachel. Hi, everyone.
Rachel. It is getting not so close to Valentine's Day, but in a way that I can start to feel love is in the air. I am planning a little party for my girlfriends, a little Galentine's, and I'm excited about that. But it's kind of got me thinking, and I know you're thinking about it too, about the whole concept of love, love, love.
Yeah, that's that's definitely a topic in my world, and
It's a big old topic.
it
Yeah.
is.
So I thought, I know you have a lot to add. So let's talk about love, and specifically love in the way that you express yourself. So that is loving yourself, loving those around you in a way that's still loving to yourself, and a way that is, respectful to yourself. I think there's just I think love is probably one of these things that we were talking about before, where the definition is important.
Yeah, well, I mean, love is like we learn love from our family environment growing up. Like we learn it as a child. It's not taught in school per se. Like, I mean, maybe you do Valentine's Day things, but no one teaches you love except like your love is understood by how you're raised and the environment
Right.
around you.
They're incidentally teaching you all the time, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
That's how we absorb it. And it's interesting because we all grew up in very different homes. So right off the bat, we all have very different
Oh my gosh, Rach, even
definitions.
between brothers and sisters. Yeah, I don't
Totally.
know if it's like that with you with your
Yeah,
brothers, but
for
even
sure.
between me and my brother, I think it's a different definition.
It is. And that's interesting because you grew up in the same house with the same
Completely.
parents in the same
Thinking we have
environment.
the same parents, but you don't. You have a different
You don't.
experience, you have a different perspective on life, all that. Yeah.
And then how your parents or your caretakers or the people you primarily engage with, how they interact with each other, how they show love to one another or don't show love to one another is how we start understanding it. And also in how we start to form our ideas about relationship and what it should
Wow,
look
you were
like.
like pulling on it already, Rach. Like just digging in there. Honestly, I'm
I
just
know. Ready to roll up your
I'm
sleeves.
feeling it. Honestly, I'm just feeling it. You think about, it just takes you right back. You think watching, at least in my case, watching your dad with your mom. And I've had
Totally.
this, just in terms of I think the way we think about it, we think of love. Oh my gosh, you love your children, you love your, like their romantic love, and it's all embellished in Disney movies and stuff like that. So if you're a woman, you grow up in the US, like that's kind of gets forced on you as an example. And yeah, I mean, even the expressions of love and the gifts or my dad wasn't particularly one with a lot of I love you words, but he was demonstrative in, gifts or trips or quality time or, spending
Yeah.
time together, creating experiences for my mom. And I've definitely picked that up. I didn't even realize that till just this conversation. But that's a massive expression of love for me, as is gifts, gifts for people, creative things, spending time with them, all that stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's true, and to your point, I said, we understand love by the environment around us, but also what we're exposed to, what movies we were exposed to as a kids, like the fairy tales,
Totally.
all of that. And then you fast forward to here and you're like,
Yes.
what? And how have we taken that and evolved that? And how does that impact, everything around us? I mean, here I am curious and open about love as I'm in the dating world. And I am really like, okay, what is that? What does it feel like? What does it look like? I know what it looked like when I got married when I was 25, very different than what I understand it now with
Yes.
my time,
Yes.
experience,
Gosh,
wisdom,
it's such a
learning,
good point.
growth.
Even your first boyfriend when you're 15, 16, 19,
Totally.
that's like a totally different love, unless you've carried it on, if you're still with that person. But if you haven't, you kind of look back and even that, your definition keeps changing.
It does. It does. And so it's interesting coming from, a marriage of 23 years to now dating and to look at that. And it's like, I get to redefine it. I get to experience it again and see what how it's changed or evolved and who I am now and how I want to express that. And I'm learning very quickly that what I send out is what I get
Trial
back.
by fire. I have a feeling
Don't
you're gonna say. I am
I
being forced to learn very quickly.
Yes, I am. Like, it's like, I don't know if anything can slap me in the face a little harder, but this one does. Or like I ran into a wall. Um,
Right.
but the realization for me is, I have this idea of like how I want to be loved. Very like I've spent time thinking about like what does it, how does it look? How does it feel? But I haven't sat down and looked at like how do I want to love myself? How do I want to be the person I am?
Yes,
Um, because what
totally.
I'm finding out is what I'm putting out is what I'm getting back. Like we always hear like our relationships are our mirrors, our partners are our mirrors, like people around us and close to us are our mirrors. And so then I started thinking about it. I was like, what am I mirroring? Like, what am I mirroring here? The realization really hit me that I can't get what I really want until I actually bring it in with me. And I actually develop that kind of love that I want coming into me. I have to do it for myself first. And I don't think this is unique just for dating. I think this is
Nope.
unique for so many things.
I'm not
Parent-child
dating, I'm feeling it.
relationships,
Yeah.
in a marriage, like family relationships, all of that stuff,
Walking out
same
your front
thing.
door. Yeah,
It
on any given day. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
And I am learning that through dating. I mean, I knew that about, my son and I and stuff, but like to have it be so um apparent and visible, I was like, wow, I am really like, for me to get what I want, what I need to demonstrate it. I need
Yes.
to put it out. I need to have it like kind of like come out of every pore in my body.
Yeah, well,
So
take ownership. I get what you're saying. Like, take ownership of that and not turn it. And when you were talking about, you're a mirror. Well, the mirror is like the reverse image, right? So I think of it as like a lock and key, right? So if I'm the key and I can open it, someone else is the lock to like clamp it down, right? So it's
ah,
kind of like it's like the yin yang of it, but maybe not so symbiotic in a lot
yeah.
of ways. That if you're bringing in love, especially think of for me, what comes up in love that's gone awry or love that's amiss is like, for lack of a better word, just the neediness or the incompletion or somewhere that your self is stopped. It's like you're not one whole, you haven't recognized your wholeness as one person, with an absolute assertion to be on the planet and to, have opinions and to have the life the way that you want to have it. That requires, to me, wholeness, which is, the way of love and self-love. And for me, it just I always go back to self-respect. Like, how am I going to show myself self-respect? But it's interesting too because I equate that with love. Why? Probably because the way I was raised, the way I was
Mhm.
taught to. We've talked about this before. Have a response, have an answer, set
Right.
boundaries with people. Say not even like say no, but say I don't agree with you, and this is why, or I don't agree with you, and I don't have to have a reason why. I just don't agree with you. There,
Yeah.
and having that gift. Thank you, parents. I think goes a long way to supporting the way that you can frame love for yourself. Now, I'm not saying I've been successful, Rach, in loving myself every day of every year, but I think we've even we've touched on this before. Like I'm happy to say that I love myself. I'm happy to say it. I'm not going to make any concessions for that. I'm not going to apologize for that. I work hard to be the person that I want to be my best friend. I work hard for that, right? I want to be my best friend. That doesn't mean that I treat myself lovingly all the time.
Oh,
And
no.
this is, I think, a good relevant piece of this grateful, not greedy conversation because I'm so grateful that I have a lot of self-esteem. I'm grateful that I do have self-love. I'm grateful that I
Mhm.
have enough love to give also, that I can champion other people because I have some to spare. And I think a lot of myself just as a person. I think, I don't know, like, oh, I'm so amazing. I do all this amazing stuff. But as a person, who is kind and decent and thoughtful and all that in the world, I think I do a reasonable job, right? And
Yeah.
so being able to like counter that though with also then treating yourself lovingly, that's the challenge. Because even if you're sitting there feeling like, I mean, we talked this before, like, I don't have, I'm not a pleaser. I don't have I'm good, as you uncover it, you realize, oh, that's totally me, right? So as we go through this conversation, I'm going to find plenty of my gaps, because
Yeah.
when it comes to interacting with other people, then it's a dance, then it's a
Yeah.
dance, a love dance, right? And so how am I going to be quote unquote loved or liked or pursued or whatever, like, do you want this job? Do you want this house? Do you want this whatever you're trying to go for, right? You're always kind of massaging a situation, and it gets tricky. I mean, it really gets tricky. And then how you express yourself. How do you express yourself with your kids? I have lots of parent friends who have very different expressions with their kids. I, even if they're different, they're still like blanketed in love, however
Yeah.
they're showing their love, right?
Sure. Yeah. Um, and here's the piece about this is like I have this capacity to really give a lot of love out. Like I
You
have a
do.
lot of
You
capacity for
100%
that.
do.
Um, and I will prioritize others long before me. And it's like that saying,
Okay.
like, put on your own oxygen mask
Yes.
first, and I am someone that gives, gives, gives. And my thought, I think I've slowly kind of uncovered this. My thought is that if I give and I give and I give, I'm going to get in return. And that's not true,
Oh,
because
yes.
people will see that you are a giver and be like, great, tick, 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 tick,
I
tick,
love
tick.
it.
And
That's so awesome. Thank you.
I know,
Even if they
thank
don't
you.
realize that, even if they're not trying to be that.
Totally.
I
I
was
mean,
just
like,
I was just having this
who doesn't
conversation
want
with
that?
teenagers. Yes, teenagers in my house. We're having the same conversation where the mom lecture is, if you give and give and give and give, they're of course they're going to take what's there. Of course, it's
Totally.
awesome. It's awesome. But then if you use that as a way, well, I mean, and I've definitely done this throughout my life, not knowing that this is kind of one of my strategies to be, liked or get along with people or whatever. If you're giving and you're giving and you're giving, it's like, well, you can't, like, I'm not a bad person, so you could disagree with me or you could whatever, but could you just like think that I'm a terrible person, right? So like coming up against that, which I have for years in different situations, but always being like having the confidence of feeling as though I was expressing myself correctly in the
Mhm.
world. But to your point, that can be overdone,
It
right? So
can
that could
be.
be overdone. And then you're sitting there in this love conversation, like, I'm so loving, I'm so giving, I'm such a loving, caring person, I'm so thoughtful, I'm so this. Why am I not seeing that love? And it's because I don't know why it is. I'm not, again, a psychologist, but give and give and give. But then you're asking, hey, I just gave you all that love. This conversation we had, last night? I just gave you all that love. This doesn't feel great. Can I have some back? And they're like, well, no, this is mine. You just gave this all to me. Why would I give any to you back of what you gave to me? Because I didn't have any reserve. Like I didn't
Right.
have any extra. And I just took yours. I love it. It feels so good. Thank you so much. And it doesn't occur to them to like give it back. And then you're basically begging for that, which is a really dangerous position to be in. And then that brings up your point of self-love, where self-love has to
Yeah.
weigh in big time.
Well, and I would say like that there's like, there's this whole spectrum here of like, okay, now you're begging for something back and you're not getting anything back. I don't like I've had that experience before and I've learned from that. What I'm now like, I feel like, then I understand that. And then here I am in this not the same situation, but in a moment where I'm like, I am showing someone that I will give a lot of me, but I'm not showing them that how much I value myself and how much I respect myself and how much I love myself. And it's like
Yes.
this idea of strength and flexibility, right? We talk about a
Hmm.
lot in yoga. You have to have both. You're too flexible, you're going to end up injuring yourself. You're too strong, you can't even like reach for anything because you have no movement. And what strength gives us is this container. And flexibility allows us to move within that, right? And to have that space. And
Hmm.
here's the piece of giving up too much of me is that I'm showing them that I am highly flexible and you don't need to give me like I'm going to over flex myself and strain
Hmm.
myself. And that's where I end up finding I am there, that I am getting exactly what I put back. And what I need to show and put out and believe in me is that I have that. I don't need to look out. I look in. It's from the inside and then out. And I think I've been approaching it more outside and then maybe I'll get some in, right?
Mhm.
And as nice as that could be, I don't have control over that. So
No.
what if I take control over the things that I can? And that
Right.
is like prioritizing myself, loving myself enough to put myself first, and loving myself enough to continually do what is right for me and what is right for my heart. And that is where I have this, and I think this definitely comes from, how I was raised, that, caretake, give, people please, all of that. And that is a form of
Yeah.
not loving and prioritizing myself because I'm
Yeah.
putting so many others in front. And if I'm not
Mhm.
putting myself first, how can I expect someone else to put me there too? Like,
Yeah,
like,
and it's a conditioning, and we don't even realize you're just so I mean, I have a similar background in that way of just being the person who can always, show up, do the great
Mhm.
thing, here's
Yeah.
some cupcakes, here's this, here's that. But I also had the experience, God, this bring up a lot because it, I also had the experience of having a backlash of that, of my mom when she became an older woman and not young adults. And I think she kind of had an epiphany to your point, realizing, I've given everything for this family. I've given everything for my husband. I've given everything for my children. I've given everything for our little dog, like literally everyone else, right? And I think she just got to the point where it was, and I'm speaking for her. This is my experience of watching her. It was, I've done enough for everyone else, and now I'm going to go do for me. What that is going to include is I'm going to move back to the place where I want to live, not the place that, my dad had his position. I'm going to go back to school in this way, and I'm going to get my college degree that I never got. And then I'm going to take that college degree and I'm going to get a job and I'm going to be a teacher that I've always wanted to do. That to me was a great example of self-love because
That
for
is.
someone who had sacrificed and sacrificed and sacrificed and was always maybe a little we're a very educated family, so to not have a college degree and be a really smart person in our family, maybe that was like weighing on her, just to kind of take that all. Massive expression of self-love, like I am going to do this for me, and whatever you guys think of it, think of it or not. And what you brought up with the self-love and kind of give, I feel like we kind of touched on that even in my friendship woes too, where
Mhm.
it's like,
Yeah.
you feel like you think you're friends. I think we're friends, but if I'm not getting any expression of that, and I know people are busy, but I can make that excuse for everyone all day long. I mean, we're all busy, right?
Yes.
So if you're not getting anything back, and just by example, I have another good friend from college who lives somewhat close to me, and we make plans every 6 months or a year or whatnot, and we really enjoy the time. Like I can think I can fairly say we both enjoy the time when we're together. We're not together all the time, which is the story for many of my friends. We just can't be in. Don't live in a sorority house, unfortunately.
Right.
But she sent me something like, "Hey, do you want to come to this thing in March?" And this is like in November or something. And I'm like, "Well, shoot, yeah." And I'm looking at it, whatever. I was like, "Okay, I'm buying my ticket and figuring the whole thing out." And I said, "Thank you so much for thinking of me." And she's like, "Kris, I always think of you."
Hmm.
And Rach, I was blown away, like blown away, right? Because to your point, like I am not used to conceptualizing love that way. I'm not
Mhm.
used to. I think no one's ever talking about me, and they're probably saying really nasty things, but I just assume no one's ever talking about me, good or bad, right? Because I just don't think like that, right? So how cool it was. I was like, wow, because I'm always thinking about her, right?
Mm. Yeah.
Love, love, love. I'm always thinking about her. I really am, like always, always and often. And, to have that affirmed was like a very cool thing. So that's
Yeah.
another way to look to even continue this conversation is even those expressions of, I so easily can say, I love you to my friends, to you, my friends, my family, like, oh, I love you. I love my kids. I love you so much. Mwah. You know, could I really sit there in the mirror and say, I love you? I love you,
Yeah.
Kris. You're so amazing. Love you. You're so
Yep.
great today. You're such a great person. I love you. How hard is that? It's hard. I
It
think that
is.
would be hard for me.
Well, and it's like, someone asked, like, "Are you gonna start dating again?" And I was like, "I'm gonna give it a minute and fall in love with myself right now." Like, I'm
Mhm.
really gonna lean into that space for me as I get to explore that, to get to a place where I can say, "Yeah, absolutely." And I won't lose myself, and I won't give up pieces of myself, and I will hold that true is, and get practiced in it in a way that it is part of me.
Yeah.
And I think for me, this has been part of my journey to get to here. And part of my journey is to have this experience, is to have this like slap me in the face a little bit and be like, okay, okay, I'm awake. I'm paying attention. Right. And,
I'm
because I mean,
sufficiently thumped. Yes.
yeah, I know.
Okay.
Like,
I'm
okay,
listening.
all right, got it. And I think it is a little bit of like the universe going like, like listen up. And to your point, like to say that, to say like, I love you. I love who I am. I love myself. Like I am confident in everything I am today and who I am becoming tomorrow. Like in that, even just there is like, oh, it's hard to say
Hard
because
to say.
it's not something that comes naturally to me. It's not something I was taught. I was taught something very different. And I think until I get to that point, I don't think I can have a healthy, loving relationship. I don't think it's
Oh,
possible
outside of
for
yourself,
me.
even, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
And
outside of yourself.
yeah, and then the other piece is like I look at my friends, like I call you all my tribe, like all these people, and I have this
Yep.
amazing group of people that I just like love so much. And I will show up for them anytime. I'll show up, I'll be there, I'll do like
Totally.
I'm here. And the flip
Yep.
side of it, when I look at that, I don't do that for me. Like,
Right.
I always am like, "Oh, well, yeah, I can do that for so and so." But, like, if I gave that time, energy just to myself that I give to the friends in my life, the people I love dearly, I think my own relationship with myself would be very, very different. And I think that's what
Yes.
I'm searching for. So I'm not just saying like the romantic love. I'm saying even the
Yes.
love that I give to my family and friends, I don't honor to myself the same way. And why do I not prioritize that? And why do I not give it the time, the energy, the space for it? Because one of my friends was like, you know what? You're never alone if you're in love with yourself. You can always be your own best friend. And I was like, it's
Totally.
true. And and if
Yes.
I don't wanna be my own best friend, like, who's gonna wanna be my best friend? Like, if I don't even enjoy myself, which
Well,
I
and that's
do,
a good point because
you know?
a lot of people I feel probably do spend a lot of their life glomming on. And that's not to say that you're insecure, you're not okay with yourself or whatever. It's just it's conditioning or whatever it is.
Mhm.
But there's such a power in being whole and complete on your own and then being able to fit into these larger units because we're all, live in community. We all, rely on each other. We all need to be there for each other. I feel like that. But, when the kids are small, right, we're always telling them, you got to stick up for yourself because no one else is going to do it. I told my kids this. I don't know if that's true or not, but I just told them because I wanted them to be prepared. Like no one is going to care about you other than your parents. No one's going to care about you. And this is if you have us as parents, you could have someone else's parents, and wouldn't be true. No one is going to have the capacity to care about you or your life as much as you are. No one.
Yeah. And
No one.
imagine if you change
So
that now to no one's gonna love you like you can love for yourself.
right,
Because you know
right.
what? You will always have yourself. And,
That's right.
I wish I had that awareness as a child. I wish
Hmm.
I had that awareness sooner. But now I do. And this is where I feel like the next evolution or the next understanding of like relationships and not just relationships out, but relationships in. And
Hmm.
it seems so simple. Like it just
It
seems like,
seems
of
so
course,
simple, Rach, to
right?
stand in front of the mirror and say, "I love you. I love you so much. Oh my gosh, I love you so much." And that even when you're saying that, I'm like, how you're talking about your tribe. How easy is that to call anyone on that list and say, "Hey, oh my gosh, I was just thinking about you. I love you so much. You're so great. You're so
Totally.
amazing. You're just such a light in the world." It's so easy for me to say that because And to your point, if our friend groups are our mirrors, then we look at it. And if you're psyched about your friend group, then that's great. That means that everything's working.
Yeah.
If you're not psyched about your friend group, maybe evaluate what's like you're saying, what you're putting out. But then that kind of brings up even the differentially between, romantic relationships with your parents, relationships with your children, relationships with your friends, et cetera, et cetera. And maybe the expressions of love in those contexts can all be different. But being able to sit like in front of the mirror and say, I love you, it's almost like, I feel like in the grateful, not greedy context, it's almost like the greed is, I want love, but I'm not willing or able to do it for myself yet or ever or
Totally.
now, right? So the greed is give me love, give me love, give me love. And I know we don't say it like that, but that's what we do. That's what we do when we
Mhm.
bring people cupcakes or we do, something nice for
Right.
them or we, call them or they're our friends or whatever. There's a lot of bids for love, right? Going on all day long. And if we could settle into the non-greedy side, the grateful side, grateful that I have myself. Great. Fantastic. I have myself. I've got some hobbies. I have some things that I like to think about, and it's kind of fun to bounce them off other people, but I can also find ways to be self-sufficient. It's interesting too, even as we're talking about this, I always said all my kids were very independent learners when they were young, like very independent. My girls, as I've said 100 times, are super close. They, played well together, but they also all played really well individually. And my oldest son, probably the most of any of them. And I wonder if that's training, quote unquote, or if that's
Mhm.
DNA, or if that's kind of a little bit of both. Because, when you're in environments where the being able to entertain yourself and appreciate yourself are reinforced, maybe that ability to love yourself comes a little easier, even if I can't sit there and say it, in the mirror.
Yeah, and I think that is true. It's like, can you play by yourself, just you? Like, can you find
Mhm.
play on
Yeah, we
your
talked
own?
about play last
Yeah,
week.
and
Exactly
so
right.
and that
Yeah.
is like and we said, like, that's a form of self-love at the end, right? We
Mhm.
talked about that, and this
Yes.
is the same idea. This is like that imagine the love story you wanna create in your life, whatever that is, whether it's
Mhm.
your family, your friends, the romantic relationships, the marriages, whatever, and then imagine that just to you, right? Like, what is
Right.
the love story just for you?
Wow.
Like, and
Yeah.
how does that look? How does that feel? How do you just like you nurture any other relationship and give time to it, make a
Yes.
date with it, like send a message to it. Imagine if we switched that around and did that for ourselves. Like you standing in front of the mirror saying, I love you, I love you, I love you. You say I love you to your partner, or I say I love you to my kid, or whatever.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
quite often I can't remember a time I've ever told myself I love you. And I was
Never.
like, so if I
No.
do that for others that I love, that I hold dear to me, I should hold the same level to myself. And I think that
Right.
not, and I used to say, it was hard for me to make friends. Like that was kind of my story. I was like, it was hard. And I did, like, it was challenging at times in my life for various reasons. And I've gotten over that story. And so the friends that I brought forward, and the friendships that have created so much depth in the last handful of years have been so critical to me in that way. And I think it's also because I have gained a greater respect for myself and I have changed that story. And so now it's the question of, okay, so now that I have those pieces, what can I do more? And the more is
Yes.
these pieces of like dating myself, loving myself, like giving myself these things, like whether it's like giving myself an hour in the bathtub with a book just for
Yes.
me,
Yes.
like giving
Yes.
myself a
Rest.
little, like
Renewal. Yeah.
yeah, just whatever it is. It maybe like the other day I sat on the beach on the water, like on the sand on my own for a few minutes. And I was just like sitting there and just enjoying my time, my space with myself and not doing anything, not planning the next thing, not trying to figure out anything else. I'm just sitting there and
Not
I'm like,
texting people, trying to
nope,
get stuff going or yeah, yeah.
specifically left the phone at home and
Mhm.
just had that
Smart.
minute for myself, that little chunk of time, just like we make dates or send a quick message to our girlfriends or send a message to our
Yeah, have a
spouse
coffee.
or
Can you get together for coffee? And it's like, do I ever do that for myself and say, I kind of do sometimes. I have one little place that I love to go and get it's the only place I really like to drink cappuccinos because I tried to stop drinking coffee. I did. I stopped drinking coffee for like 15 years, but yeah. And then I'm like,
And then
I just love the cappuccinos there so much. I will just go for that, even if I don't even drink half of it. But yeah, but why it's like, oh, I'd love to get together for coffee. It's like, well, I'm right here. But I'm right here, you know?
yeah. And I think like this
And
is
yeah,
one
I'm gonna be
thing.
here tomorrow. I'm gonna be here the day after that. I'm gonna be here the
Totally.
day after that.
You're always available for yourself. That's the
Oh, it's
other thing.
available to myself.
Always available.
Exactly.
So we
I
don't
have my own
prioritize
calendar
it.
where I can do that, make my
Yeah,
appointments. I can do whatever. Yeah.
exactly. It's always available to us. And that's the other thing. Like one of the things I admire about you is how you celebrate your birthday. Like you take yourself.
Oh,
Yeah, and
thank
you
you.
have a night up for you, and I feel like that is like a beautiful form of self-love, and that's a beautiful self-date, and that is like I highly admire that. And I think it's lovely, on many levels,
Let me
to
just
mark your
background
birthday.
on that because there is also some judgment around that, Rach, because I've had a family for many, many years. And if you don't know my story, then however long ago, I mean, it's been years. I
I
think
know.
it's been at least, I mean, since my oldest was a younger tyke, maybe he was like 8 or something, like kind of in that
Mm.
range. That for my birthday, the night before my birthday, I love hotels. We've already established this. So I will go to a hotel of my choosing, and it could be something fancy, it could be something not so fancy. I really don't care. So I would go to the hotel, and I would bring my iPad and my movie, and I'd maybe bring a bottle of wine or get one there. And a lot of times the Final Four and the March Madness is on during my birthday time, which is glorious. So I've got like all my first loves, right? And so I have all my stuff going on, and I go to a hotel by myself and do whatever the heck I want by myself and order
Yeah.
room service. I feel like Annie, like Annie when she has her big, like she goes in and she's
Yeah.
like orders room service and desserts and everything. I'm like Annie, so doing myself for that. But yeah, and it is because it's the one gift I can give myself that I'm going to treasure so much. I spend a lot of time with my family. I spend a lot of time with my kids. I do not get to spend a lot of time on my own in a reflective, restful, renewing kind of way, like in just that settled,
Right.
rest kind of way. Yeah.
Well,
So
and
that's my birthday
that's
every
the
year.
amazing part about it is like that's something that people say like with their partners, their spouses, they like we have a getaway just planned for us like to reconnect. And I feel like your
So such a good
getaway,
point, Rach.
this is your
Yes.
getaway. This is your
Yes.
reconnection. And that's where
Yeah.
I think is incredibly beautiful. And it's like because I'm thinking of this and this is in the forefront of my mind, I'm observing the people around me and the things that I want to learn from their own self-love of how they prioritize themselves, how they love themselves, how they care for themselves. And that one is definitely from you. And there are so many good examples that I can learn from my tribe around me, my people around me that are going to help me create this. Because
I think there are a
it's
lot of good women who are good examples of self-love, just
totally
by the way they've led their life or the decisions that they've made for themselves or how they, just battle through stuff and just, kind of invest in themselves. I guess that's really kind of a big lesson in all of this too, is when you're talking about putting on your own oxygen mask, what does that look like? Does that look like your education? Does that look like your financial freedom? Does that look like, your apartment, whatever you want it to look like? Does that look like, you're spending time with your extended family or not? What is putting on your own oxygen mask look like for you? What is that? And that is the self-love expression. And you're kind of like really pushing me to think about all the ways that I've been a little greedy. I've been greedy because I'm greedy because it's almost like it's out there. I would love to, have that feeling, or I would love to feel self-love all the time, or I would love, just like out there. And it's really challenge yourself to be grateful for the opportunity to do that, and give that gift to yourself every day. Like
yeah.
that's a big gift.
And it doesn't take like I could sit here and, get dinner prepped and get my bills paid right now. Or I could actually sit down and like have a minute, maybe pull up my journal or just sit and breathe or like listen to a good song and lay on
Mhm.
the floor. Like there's so many things I can
Mhm.
do to show myself some love. And they're not big and they're not hard. But for me, for someone who is go, 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 do, 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 like out, 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 going in is a different experience. And it for
So,
me is
there's so
like
many of us.
yeah, for a daily reminder and even like, just like you said, looking in the mirror and saying, I love you. And all of these pieces, like, what does dating myself look like? And how do I want that? Right. Because we talk about
Mhm.
like, oh, what did you want your dating life to be like? Like, who are you dating? Like, what's going on?
Totally.
And,
Completely.
but does anyone ever ask, like, so how's it going with yourself?
No, exactly. I'm just looking, you're just talking about it. I'm like, you know what I have? I have this like amazing little shiatsu foot massager thing.
Yep.
And, like to your point, so simple,
Yeah.
just to say those days where you've just, you've had it, you've just like, it's enough, right? Just to say, and I have a couple girlfriends, who are really good about those girlfriends who call you and say, you're like, oh, what are you doing? I mean, I have one girlfriend. She's actually a great example. Literally, I'm like, "What are you doing this afternoon?" She's like, "Well, we have little kids, right?" But we have a little bit of time between then and that. And she works a lot too. And she's like, "I'm gonna go work out, and then I'm gonna go over to the Marriott, and I'm gonna go to the spa for a few hours. I'm gonna get a massage, and I'm gonna have some lunch there, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna pick up the kids." And I was like, kablooey, right? Like that's like that is a plan of
Yeah.
self-love. It's not, and she's not like an indulgent person, but even if she is, why do we have to justify that? Why would we
True.
have to say like, oh, I'm just taking a special day for myself today? I never do
Exactly.
this. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna make it, right? No, heck no. It's a Tuesday. And I have arranged my schedule. I could also date someone else during this time, but I'm going to date myself, and I'm, to your point, going to go to the whatever, the spa, and I'm going to get a massage, and I'm going to rest, and I'm going to rejuvenate myself, and then I'm going to come back better for everybody, right?
Well, and that's,
Yeah,
I
and
think
I
it's
think that even your point, you've made the point before, even about like in society, it's not rewarded. It's not
yeah.
rewarded to say, I'm taking a rest day. I'm taking a love day. I'm taking a Chris. I had the year of Chris one year, and that was amazing. Literally, I told everyone, I was like, it's the year of Chris, and I've kind of started doing it again this year. But I was like, it's the year of Chris, and the year of Chris is I'm gonna, get the trip that I need to take, that I want to take. I'm going to get whatever kind of stuff done that I've been putting off for 6 years. I'm going to, get my books read. I'm going to year of Chris, because when you're just consumed by throwing, like you're saying, throwing it out there, love, 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 it can be exhausting. And then you're having almost like a nervous breakdown because all the love is going out there and it's not coming here. It's not even just to say, I think there's two conversations, right? There's a conversation about just physical exhaustion. You get to, you have to love yourself just by feeding in yourself, because you could just deplete yourself completely. But there's also the emotional, like you're saying, the training conversation, where how are you trained to love yourself? Who taught you? Who was loving themselves, when you were growing up? What did that look like? And what did you take on, and what are you doing still now that you don't even recognize? Even like I said, I can sit here and say like, oh, I really love myself, but I don't always show myself. And that's the greed. The greed is, I want to feel all these amazing things about myself, but I have to be grateful for the opportunities to feed into that, like very intentionally feed into that.
Yeah. And it, it hits on this part of me of like, there's almost some level of, I don't want to say shame, but like non-productivity, right? It's like, oh, I'm
Totally.
giving myself that
That's what I'm
time. Like,
saying. It's
oh,
like you
that
have to
feels
make
like,
excuses.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so that's the piece that it's like, um, and my friend said, like, selfishly be you, like selfishly, because the way
Hmm.
you prioritize others
Yes.
your version of selfish is the norm. And I'm like, okay. So,
Yes. Yeah. Right.
and
Right.
that is like, and that feels uncomfortable for me, which always, anything that feels uncomfortable or brings tears to my eyes tells me I need to do it. So that's always like my litmus
You
test. I'm
do.
like, is it bringing
Yeah. The
tears to
only
my
way out
eyes?
is
Is it
through.
making
That's
me
one of those
feel
examples.
uncomfortable? Like, let me lean into this one and see where it's going to take me, because that's where my growth is. When I get in those both of those places, or each one of those places individually, I'm like, okay, I'm in. I want to see what this can do for me.
Right.
And this is where I am trying to lean now, or I am leaning now, and I'm trying to I'm leaning hard into it. And it is a bit of rewiring, because that piece of everyone
Oh.
else first, everyone else gets the time, everyone else gets the space, everyone, and it means shoving things down, it means turning off, it means saying no, it means saying yes to me. And that is not
Mm-hmm.
something I am accustomed to, and it's not something I have skill and practice in. And for that reason, it becomes, a a good growth place, a place to be uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes tearful, and
Yeah.
uncomfortable in. But
Yeah.
that's, I always say, like, that's what I'm here for. I'm here in this world, in this life, to feel like, to have the growth of the experience growth. Like, I don't want the safe, comfortable life. I want the messy, growing, it just having this feeling. It goes back to one of our first ones about, the lobster, right? Where the lobster
Our
outgrows its
lobster.
shell.
Yeah.
Yeah, little
Exactly.
rock lobster, right? And so the idea is like, this is my next place to shed and to grow. And it brushes up against some, like, I thought were personal values of mine that don't align with where I am now. And that takes effort when something you've grown up with,
Like
something I
what?
have grown
Can
up
you mind
with.
sharing? Like what kind of
Like,
what? So
the
like
people
what? What's
pleasing
the
and the
example?
caretaking, it brushes up against those things that I was raised
Okay.
with, that I do very, very well. I'm very accomplished in
You're
that
great at it.
areas.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yes, you're excellent.
and
A plus.
and I get a lot of, compliments on it. I get a lot of accolades on it. I've achieved a lot in my careers on it,
Yeah.
all of those things. And to pull that out feels very uncomfortable, or to lessen that feels very
Hmm.
uncomfortable. And I'm not saying I'm not going to, like, make sure my son is okay, and, like, still love him and support him. But I'm
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
like, I'm not like, I'm out here, not
Right.
that.
But to that point, even you also don't have to be available 24/7.
I
You
don't.
also, you can be available, you can be on call ish, right? I mean, obviously we're on call if something happens or whatever, but you don't have to be just available all the time for whatever. You
You're
can
right.
carve out the time and say, I'm not going to be available between 3 and 6 on Thursday. I mean, I definitely do that with my situation here to
Right.
say,
Just
these are the times when I'm not going to be here, or I'm not going to be available to you. Just want you to know. But even that, it's like, yeah, I have to announce it. So because everyone's used to me being on call and available all the time, which is
exactly.
really that. Yeah. So I think it's okay to kind of like pull this thread through.
Hmm.
The thing that is sticking out for me is, what are the things that I can write down that I can tell myself, oh, I love you. I love you. You're so amazing. I love you. I love you. Right. But what are the things that I can do that show me that I believe that show me
Yeah.
that that's true, that in at my core, because like I said, I mean, I'm a reasonably confident
Also,
person. I'm a reasonably, like well-developed person. I don't feel like I have like a lot of stuff where I'm like, oh, I'm clueless. I spend a lot of time, sitting with my feelings, understanding why I overreacted like crazy on my daughter last night, like putting that together, like
yeah.
having that make sense and going back and apologizing and, getting clear on all those kinds of things, which also that breeds confidence because that's not easy. You have to grow through all these
Yeah.
things and then love yourself even in the space of your failures, which is another thing that
Absolutely.
sucks. Can tell you I was there last night and that's super sucky. But the way that,
Oh,
I'm able to do that is, I still have great things about me, even though I made these mistakes or I made this one mistake, or, but it's holding on to like, to your point, like the values that I hold most dear, integrity, honesty, whatever it is, caring, kindness, that kind of stuff. Like if I can know that those are solid within me, then I can, live to fight another day in the self-love category because I've kept that, I've kept that thread. But but really challenging myself not to be greedy with it's really the don't have, like I don't have this, whatever, I don't have this relationship. I don't have this, experience with my kids. I don't have this experience with my siblings. I don't have enough friends. Like, I don't like the people I work with. Like, I don't like my commute from work, like whatever, whatever, whatever. And even like seemingly little things like that. I think about the woman who wrote the Having It All book. And, the story is, she's in the bathroom, nursing her baby on her freaking 2.5 hour commute into her job where she's going to spend the next 10 hours until she goes back another 2 hours. Her whole day is gone. All she does is go home just to sleep and give a kiss to her now sleeping child. But it's like, how is that self-love? How is that
Yeah.
self-love? How is that taking care of you?
Well, and, people hear those stories and they're like, wow, that's amazing. She did so much. And you're just like,
Right.
right? Like,
Total killing it. She's got this
yeah,
big corporate job or this big,
yes,
academic job or whatever. And
sure.
yeah, the job
And
becomes the focus.
you said this earlier, this is a really good point. It's not just the words, like I can say a mantra, like I love myself, I am enough, I am like whole, I am, like I'm all these things. I can say that. But I have to follow it up with the actions. The actions and the words need to match, just like in any relationship. The
Mhm.
actions and the words should match.
Yeah.
And like if there's no words and only actions, not not very helpful. There's all words, no actions to back it up, also not helpful. And so
Right.
those two combined together, and because we know words have so much impact on us as humans. And I know we say
They
like,
have meaning.
oh, like
Yes.
what's your love language? Words of affirmation. Okay, I understand not everybody's big on words of affirmation, but we know words just as much as they can hurt and create a wound, they can also add something, even if
Heal.
you're not a words of
Yeah.
affirmation person. And so now it doesn't take anything for us to say those words to ourselves in the mirror, as you said. It costs you nothing. It takes 2 seconds. It
Mhm.
does all these things. And I don't do it. Like, what? Seems so like
Right.
low hanging fruit, right? And then the actions, like
Yeah,
whether
we
it's,
were not trained to do it, Rach. Like we're trained.
I
I mean,
know,
we're trained to
I
look outside, like
understood,
you said. Like
like
find
look
someone
out,
else
not
to
in.
care about. Like find some other thing to give to. Like yeah. I
Totally.
mean, care about that. Care about this. Accommodate that. Look out there. Look out there. And even the women who embody this, oh, we could even I use that as a collective we, like societally, oriented, can challenge that, like, oh, wow, she's really selfish, or she really just thinks a lot of herself, or whatever, insert judgment here on that. And for me, those women are like my idols. The women who can say, I've made the choice to live my life this way. I made the choice to live here and not there. I made the choice to have children or not have children. I've made the choice to have a relationship with my sister or not have a relationship with my sister. I've made, whatever, the choice to have this job and not that job. I've made the choice to, et cetera, et cetera. Idols, like absolute 100% idols, because that is the ability to make the hard choices and to do the things that are uncomfortable for you because you're growing. Like you said, your little lobster is very uncomfortable out there flying in the ocean. And there are ways to do this you can do it however you want, obviously, but there are ways that to do this also that are soft. You don't have to be like in everyone's face. You can just quietly go along loving yourself and taking the
Totally.
actions every single day. And if that's, you know, flying first class because that's the way you love yourself, great. If that's taking an extra paddleboard, I mean, do you take yourself paddleboarding? No, but if a friend called you and said, "Hey, Rach, do you want to go paddleboarding?" You're going. you
Yeah.
know, within safety realms, you know what I mean? But like,
Yeah. Yeah.
safety
Yeah.
first, right? But truthfully, right? It's like, I even think about, like you're saying, getting to the ocean, reading a book, having that cup of coffee outside, whatever it is, going to the zoo by yourself, going to just celebrating the fact that you can give yourself a lot of love on your own. You can create a lot of love for yourself. And the more that you like almost stand up for yourself, the more that you're going to get back. And then I think to your larger point, the more successful you're going to be in engaging with other people, because then you're like, your root system is so strong into
Yeah.
the ground, right? You're
Yeah.
just like an oak tree then. And then it's great. You've got all the shade you can give everyone. You should still give shade to everyone, but you're an oak tree. So you're still standing. Leaves can fall off or whatever. You're still standing. You're still there. You are an oak, and everyone loves oak trees. Who doesn't love a good oak tree, right? And you can
Yeah.
love yourself. Yeah. So it's just like a very complicated conversation, and it's interesting to see how much opportunity there is. Like really, really on the grateful side, to be
Hmm.
so grateful for the opportunity, so grateful for yourself. Do
Yeah.
we say that? I'm so grateful for myself. I'm so grateful that I am who I am. I'm so grateful that I've gone through what I've gone through and come out the other side and made these choices. And if you're not, fine, change it. New,
Right.
new choice. New choice. So the conversation we were having last night too was, when you're a kid, when you're an actor, the whole point is always, make a new choice. New choice. Okay, I'm going to give you 3 looks, right? I'm going to give you this accent, this character, and that accent, whatever. Now I'm going to give you this character. Now I'm going to enunciate here. New choice. So even in like the self-love conversation, if you have things that have kept you from believing that about yourself, new choice. Just,
Yeah.
right? Make a different choice the next
Yeah.
day. Make a different choice the next hour and reinvent yourself and then putting those like boundaries. I mean, you're causing me to think a lot again on subjects that I think I have a pretty good handle on.
I don't think this
I'm
is
not.
ever done. Like to your point, like I mean, I don't think we're ever done on this love story of loving ourselves. Like, I think it is an ongoing, evolving, deepening process. And, to your point, I do take myself,
Mm-hmm.
I ride my bike down to the beach and get in the water and swim. And I do that
Right.
either like a lot of the times I just do that on my own. And I do that for the love for myself, like, and for me and
Mm-hmm.
just for no other reason. I'm not doing it to get physically fit. I'm not doing it. I swim up to the buoy, I
Yeah.
touch
There's
the
no
buoy, I
dog you're
swim back,
walking or
right?
anything. Yeah.
Yeah, like it is just for
Yeah.
that. And it is like that's great. But I'm like, but that's not enough for me now. Like, and I truly believe, and I said this earlier, and this is my takeaway or my focus is I am not, if I am going out there, if I am dating, and if I am like what I expect is what I should be putting out and putting out and showing that that's how I love myself, right? And the only way people
Mhm.
treat you by learning by how you treat yourself. And I feel like that means loving myself.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay, say that
So
again,
that
because that's like I was just thinking, like it's like you teach people how to treat you, but you teach them by the way that you treat yourself, is what you're saying.
exactly. Yeah. Not how I treat them, but
Profound.
how I treat
Yeah.
myself. Because that shows them
Right.
what my boundaries are. That shows them what I expect. That shows
Yes.
them how much I value myself. What is my value? If I walk around and I think my value is way
Mhm.
high, I'm like, "Pff," that might turn some people away. And then it'll filter out and bring the right people in. And those people in know that I won't accept anything
Mhm.
less because I'm already putting it out there and I'm setting the bar for myself. Right. And by accepting myself, by loving myself, by, taking care of myself, by all of those self pieces, that love story for myself, I think that is the key for me in this stage, in this process of what I'm uncovering next. And, and it's exciting and it's a whole new thing for me, like to actually focus on it and to actually put the pieces in place, the words, the actions, the feelings, all of that.
and it's also, as you're saying that, like as a final piece, the people who are like my oak tree thing, the people who are strong enough to hang out with an oak tree are
Yes.
the people who are going to come, right?
Yes.
The people who are
Exactly.
strong enough to stand next to that oak tree aren't going to be intimidated by that. They aren't not going to judge that. They're not going to be anything about it. They don't have to think it's awesome. They don't have to think anything about it. They just have to be strong enough to stand next to it
Mhm.
and
And they
like, oh
can
yeah,
see
here's
like
this oak
how
tree.
big that oak tree is, how strong that oak tree is, how deep its roots are. And it's like, yep. And they know exactly that.
There's the oak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because that's really a good point too, just to like, kind of wrap this up in a bow is as we evolve in loving ourselves, self-love, self-respect, call it whatever you want, and just in terms of like, I love you, Kris, I love you, Kris, and then backing it up with real action,
Mhm.
there might be fallout. You might
Sure.
have to be that lobster for a little bit longer because now you're just turning into this big lobster. You're not a 1 pounder anymore. You're turning into like the
Yes.
bigger and the bigger. And as you get bigger, the little ones, like they're not ready to be
No.
where you are. They're not ready to be that, whatever 20-pound lobster out there just like swimming along. They're not ready. And that is, I think, just kind of a nice point to end on because another key of this self-love is being able to allow yourself to go to those levels. You can go yourself out to the outer ring. You don't have to take anyone with you. And
Yeah.
you'll find people. You'll find people out
Yeah.
there who are swirling like you are, who are singing the same songs and dancing the same tunes and all that.
Yeah.
And that's another like critical element because part of self-love is also being able to allow yourself to move in that direction for yourself and
Right.
not feel
Not
bad or
right.
oh, I haven't talked to them in so long or I haven't this, all that kind of stuff that we tend to do. So okay, I love this, Rachel. I love it. I love
Ah,
it so much. It's very helpful. It's very helpful to kind of think through. I don't know if you have any other takeaways as we're like closing out, but it really is helpful to take the moment and think, if I really do love myself, if that's really true, where's my evidence? What am I going to do about that? How am I going to prioritize myself? And then next week, what am I going to say? Like and the more we know that, that's the
mhm.
reinforcement. The more that
Yeah.
we tell ourselves that, that's one thing, step one, right? But then to put back into the layers and whether that's like setting a boundary, which is an awesome way to show it, or whether that's taking yourself to the spa, that's an awesome way to show it, whether
Mhm.
that's sitting and doing your little shiatsu foot massage,
Mhm.
whatever it is, taking the time to read a book and telling your friend you can't talk right now because you're reading a book. Can you
Right.
imagine? I'm sorry, I can't chat. I'm reading.
Yeah. And I think, we do that for others all the time. We're like, oh, can't talk. I'm hanging out with so and so, or I'm catching up with so and so. And for me, it's like I want to hold myself to that level when I date myself. And then I think then when
Yeah.
I'm ready to and when I walk into another relationship, I will have a different level of self commitment, self love, self respect, like clear boundaries, all of those things that will help me navigate and also inform the other person exactly who I am. And to your point, it might filter people out, but that's a good thing, right?
Yes.
That I don't want
Yes.
everyone in.
It definitely will. It
It's
definitely
not the
will.
more the merrier here at this point in my life. It's like the quality and like curation, like curating things specifically mindfully in my world at this point. And and not that I'm like, I need to
Yeah.
be an elitist. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I want to use my time wisely, invest it wisely. Investing in myself and dating myself, I think is a wise investment because I'm always with me. So that's a good investment. The other
You
piece
are
of
always
is
with
like,
you. And
yeah,
but in the larger scale though too, it's correct because the way that other person, whether that's your new neighbor or your friend at the gym or whatever, the way that those people are going to find you and get to you is because they are aligned with that.
totally.
They are in the self-love mode too. So of course they recognize that and of course they can respect you for that and of course they love that about you because they love that about themselves too. And that's something that we can kind of all look at also is, you know, to understand that the people, as we go up the self-love chain, the people that we're going to be around are also self-loving. So it's not going to be just a give fest. It's not just going to be like a whole, swapping cheesecakes every 2 hours because we love each other. It's going to be, I'm respecting myself, you're respecting yourself. I've got these things planned for myself, and not like, what are we doing this weekend? What are we doing this weekend? It could be as simple as that. And they're like, well, in the morning on Saturday, I have this planned for myself, and then I'm free for these 4 hours if you would like to, right? Like
Right.
even things like that. I think it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to watch, Rach, your self-love evolution, and me too. Even just as we get comfortable with the changes, like with looking in the mirror, telling myself I love myself so much. On Valentine's Day, I think I'm gonna write my husband will go crazy, right? I think I'll write in my big red lipstick, like, I love you, Kris, hearts everywhere and all that stuff. And yes, just to see if anybody notices, right? Because yeah, even that, even on Valentine's Day, which will be here before you know it, you can send yourself flowers, you can send yourself a card, you can be your own Valentine, you can be your own commitment. You can do that
Yeah.
for yourself. We can all do that because we're our number one fan. Yeah. Love it.
We are. Yeah. All right. Well, this love story,
So
we're
this
still gonna see
has
how it
been
goes.
is we're gonna see exactly, because I love you so much, Rach. That's an easy one. I love you so much. Such a great gal. Super love Rachel. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, this has been, is, and forever will be the lovely Grateful Not Greedy podcast. And aloha, Rach.
Aloha, Kris.